What is going on, guys? This Lost Yeti here, and today we are actually here to make a tier list. This is on tiermaker.com, and basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be making a tier list of all of the itch.io games that we've played this year. And believe it or not, we've actually played 32 games, and I do this every Friday, so 32 weeks worth of games this year, which is super awesome. Technically, this is a little bit early, but nevertheless, let's take a look at the games in no particular order. I must say all of these games must have been interesting enough for me to make a video on them. There's plenty of footage that has been scrapped from other indie games, so even if something ends up down here in the D tier, it's nothing personal towards the game. It's just how it stacks against the other games we played this year. I intend to move some stuff around, so do that. And also, if you guys have any notes on any of these games you want to put down in the comments, think that I put something in B when it should be in S tier, let me know. Without further ado, let's go right into it. And let's start here at the front with 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab. 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab is a horror SpongeBob game if you haven't seen the episode. Obviously, there are episodes to all these in here. I think for the time being, I'm going to put it right here at B tier. The game itself is relatively fun. There's things going on. It's interesting. It's not an A tier, but it's not a C tier. It's a pretty middle-of-the-road episode overall. No complaints here. Then we're going to be moving down to Angerfoot. Angerfoot, I'm putting it here so we can talk. Angerfoot is a fast-paced, amazing speedrunning game that they keep adding things to. Actually, semi-recently, I went back and played this off-camera. So if you guys want to see more Angerfoot, they've updated it, added a whole new sewers area. But basically, you run through the game and you kick down doors and you shoot enemies with limited bullets. And it's an awesome game. It's an A tier at the very least. It might go S tier. But there's too few things to talk about right now, so we can't do our final shuffle. All right. Attack on the Haunted Lighthouse, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know if it's Haunted Lighthouse or just Attack on the Lighthouse. I think it's Haunted Lighthouse. So Haunted Lighthouse is basically a retro arcade game where you go and you shoot. So you're playing an arcade game inside of your computer, but that turns out to be real life. It's a little weird, and plays like a retro shooter game that you'd play in an arcade. It's good. It's a good game, but it's not a great game. I don't think it's going to rank high in comparison to some of the games I've seen, other games I've seen this year, but it is whatchamacallit, not a bad game. It's not a D tier. So there's that for certain. It's not as high as either of these two is essentially how I'm ranking it. And again, these might shuffle more in the future. Then we have Cage Face. Cage Face is a horror game that we did for the tail end of Spooky Season. Spooky Season was this October where we did every week. We did specifically a horror game. So you'll see a lot of these games on here are horror games because we try to do a lot of them towards the Halloween season. Cage Face was a lot of fun. The art was pretty good. Cannot complain. The only thing that I'm not crazy about are the death messages in this game. Like they would show this like comic book style death messages that bothered me a little bit just because it was very redundant when you died as many times as I did. I was actually relieved to get through that game in the sense of it was like harder than it should have been. So we're going to put that there. I think it's B tier as in it's not as good as 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab, but it's a little bit better than Attack on the Haunted Lighthouse. And again, this might change. Courage coming in. Courage is what might be our first S tier. So it's going to go there. Angerfoot is just a good game. I shouldn't even say that. It's a great game. But Courage, what was very cool about this game is the creator basically tried to make like this lore that it was a lost PlayStation 1 game that even if you watch our episode, we kind of play into, and there's a ton of hidden things that, like you had to go way out of your way to kind of discover and find all the endings, and it was kind of weird, and I like weird things. So it's yes, and it's not a bad made game, but it's obviously fan made. So the graphics are good enough for it to get that boost. I would say, ironically enough, Cage Face down here probably has the best graphics, but the gameplay is decent. There's a weird enough thing going on. I wanted to find all the endings, so that's a plus. And then that means we got our next Courage game right here. So Courage's Curse. Courage's Curse is based off of the episode in the actual show that you can kind of see right here of the, what's his name? It's like the Egyptian tablet guy, if you will. That game was all right. Is it better than 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab? No. Is it better than Cage Face? No. I'd say right now I'm going to put it in C tier, but front of the C tier. It might be moved around. It's a fun game. I really don't want to say anything poor about it, but it's not as good as these other guys, and I think you guys can understand that. Then we have Deepest Sword. Deepest Sword is super rad. It is a game basically that's like a speedrunner's paradise. You carry around this super long, well, short sword at the beginning, longer sword as you get further, and the idea is you want to get through the level as quickly as possible and then stab the dragon, which is actually here in the thumbnail. Basically, every time you progress the level, the sword gets longer, making it harder and making you take different routes through repetitive levels. A tier. Not as good as Angerfoot, because Angerfoot I've gone back and played since, but it's a very good game. This is just a super polished game, and this is one that I would say out of some of these on the list, like, go try it, play it, you'll enjoy it. All these games are free, by the way, so like if you haven't played it, go play it. Like anything A tier, S tier, play it for yourself. Maybe Courage, don't, because you have to go through a lot of more effort, but it's cool because you have to go through more effort. Anyways, then we have Doggo Quest. Doggo Quest is... Alright, so it's a highly inspired game by Undertale, if you're familiar. I'm a huge fan of Undertale. It's kind of like RPG elements. There's that like fighting mechanic, which if you know Undertale, you totally know what I mean. You know, where does it fall on this list? Is it better than some of these other games? The art style is fantastic. Art gives it major points here. Gameplay-wise, it's still a beta. There's not a whole lot there, so I would drop it because of that, but gain it because of the art. So I'm gonna put it right here because I think B tier is gonna start filling up as we go down. So it's leading the C tier. It's only being Courage's Curse because the art is fantastic, and had there been more game, it would be a better game. But right now, it's pretty equal to Courage's Curse. Fixin' to Die. Fixin' to Die is a Overcooked-like game where you play as a doctor in a medical tent, where you have to basically either take care of patients or let them die or choose when to try to help them. And if you wanted to, let someone die, you could then use the blood from them to help other patients. So there's that balancing aspect. It's a very interesting game. It's definitely in the B tier. It's a fun game. It's a genuinely fun game, but there's not a lot there. I would say that I would go back and play it if they added more to the game, so I think it lends B tier, but I don't think it's as polished as Cage Face or 3 AM at the Krusty Krab, in the respect that there is more game there. Fixin' to Die, when I played it anyways, was very bare bones. Then we have Funk Duck. Funk Duck is not a game for everybody. It's definitely not a game for everybody. I really enjoyed it. Because I very much so like platformers, and I specifically like things such as Super Meat Boy. If you like games like Super Meat Boy, then this is a game that you should check out because it's super rad. The music is bussin', just saying. It's absolutely bussin'. And the tail end of the game, if you can make it there, when they start adding the aspect of the whole building is on fire and you have to run faster than that, I loved it. Is it as good as Angerfoot? No, it's not as good as Angerfoot. Deepest Sword, barely. It's not as good as Deepest Sword, barely, but that's a game, another one that I'm like, you must play it, if you have the spare time. So that's why it's going in A tier. Like, that's where it is. So really, it's like, must play, specialty. So specialty, must play if it interests you. If it interests you, you'd enjoy it. And then C tier, you can play it. I'm not going to tell you to go out of your way. You could check out my video. And then there's D tier. So, D tier. And we might shuffle these around. Once we get everything in, I'll actually bump some stuff down to D, which I know I'm going to be a little bit nice in the get-go. So let's go right here. Golf with Guns. Golf with Guns was a game, that's another one not for everyone. I came out of What the Golf, which was another series on my channel. And I like golf. I like mini golf. I thought that it would be fun. It's a very fun mechanic. I think it's very well put together. I would put it above Doggo Quest, but it's not in Fixin' to Die territory. I think for the time being, it's going down in C tier. Okay? Okay. Awesome. Then we have They Are Here, I believe is what this one's called. It actually doesn't come to mind off the top of my head. Graphics, phenomenal. This is a game that's just not done. It's a demo. There's not a whole lot there. It genuinely scared the ever-loving daylights out of me. Basically, alien abduction game where you go to the cornfield. You're being followed by this alien. I guess you'd call it the Greys, as stereotypically portrayed. Cool. I want more. I want more before I can really give it anything. because Golf with Guns is like good to play where it is, I would actually put this right here. And what's hard is like I would probably put this B tier, but it's not better than Golf with Guns. It's just not better than Golf with Guns. So that's where that is. Then we have In the Mountains. In the Mountains is a horror game where essentially you go into this like cave-like system and find this abandoned lab. It's a good game, but it's kind of forgettable in the grand scheme of things. Honestly, like, there are better horror games on this list to check out. This is just not one that struck a chord with me. It was fun, but not incredibly fun. Like, again, these are all games that I consider to be fun and good enough to play, at least for the channel, but like, now that I've done enough of these, you know where it ranks. It ranks below. They are here above Doggo Quest. Doggo Quest actually has better graphics, so I want to see more Doggo Quest. Is that so bad? And Courage's Curse is like also a better game, so we're dunking it down. And then we have Attack on the... You know what? All right. So it's not... These two are pretty close. The art style doesn't do it for me. Ironically enough, both of them have a very pixelated art style, making certain things hard to see, and I think that's why they're scoring so low, but that's enough dwelling on that. We now have Inversion Gb. Inversion Gb is a story-based game, point-and-click adventure pseudo-style, except you don't point-and-click, you like walk left and right, almost as if it's on the Game Boy, and you interact with things to try to understand the story. It's pretty short. There's not a whole lot there, but I like the story. I like the direction that the game went with. You know, there's multiple endings, sort of, you know, as much as they could have done with that. I love that it's on a Game Boy because, like, this game actually being on a Game Boy and being fully fleshed out would be pretty freaking cool. But it's below Golf with Guns. Golf with Guns is just cooler, and actually, I think Golf with Guns, you've earned your seat in B tier after being this little, like, level. It's better. It's not as good as They Are Here because They Are Here is also kind of similar level gameplay. They Are Here obviously is 3D versus 2D, so there's more going on. The art's better. Inversion, not a bad game, obviously, but just, you know, if you watch my video, you don't need to go play the game. So that's where it is. It's not a, if this interests you, go play it. It's a, watch my video and you'll be okay. Carlson. Carlson is, at the very least, a B tier. It might be an A tier. Let's talk about it. Carlson is a platforming game where, if you're not familiar, also, I should mention this is a game by Danny. We've played a couple of his games here on the channel, and he makes a very fun game to play. Like, the game's not that polished, but because it's broken in certain ways is what makes it fun. Like, the movement in this game is what's so much fun. It's better than Golf with Guns. It's better than Fixin' to Die. It's better than Cage Face. It's better than 3AM with the Krusty Krab. It's A tier. I think that it is up there with Angerfoot and Deepest Sword. Is it better than Funk Duck? In my personal preference, which is everything on this list, I like 2D platformers better than 3D platformers. The movement on both of these games are fantastic. In my humble opinion, I'm going to put it behind Funk Duck, but that's for now, and there's a reason for that. Okay, then we have Maze of the Minotaur, and this is a puzzle game where you shuffle around blocks on a playing field, and that's what allows you to kind of get out. It's a pretty standard game. Also, at this point, I'm just going to bump some of these guys down to make space. Right, okay, so that balances things a little bit better. So, Maze of the Minotaur, where does it stand? It stands right here. Like, it's forgettable. It was, you know, fun if you're into those kind of things, but it's forgettable. It's not high on our list. That's all I could say. Then we have Mr. Krabs Commits Arson. Mr. Krabs Commits Arson is a fun game, and I for the video, it's awesome. Here's the problem. It's not that playable, at least on my current setup, and I have a relatively powerful PC. It just doesn't run well. Like, I enjoyed it for the video. I enjoyed the style of content that it has, obviously. Super cool, but it's getting bumped down to C tier purely because it doesn't play that well. Like, if they optimize that game, this game would very easily be A tier. It's just got to run better. It's super stuttery. The movement needs to be better. Like, it's super cool. It's super memey. I love anything weird, but it's not on the level of some of these other games. However, Mr. Krabs Tax Evasion, that's where I was kind of setting this up for. Mr. Krabs Tax Evasion plays well, and has all the same memes that the other ones do, it's S tier. No questions asked. Like, play it for yourself. You will get a ton of laughs out of it. Is it the most deep thing in the world? No. But there's literally... also, with Commits Arson, I had to cheese the final boss because the game was broken and the fact that I was just dying. So that's a thing. But Mr. Krabs Tax Evasion is literally this game. Came out before it, but plays better. Has the memes. Play it for yourself. S tier. Play it for yourself. Muggy Lake, the gateway drug, the one that got me into doing all of these. This is actually created by a friend of a friend. I play on the Infinite Realms Minecraft server, and I met Common Virus on there, and it was one of his friends that developed this game for a game jam, and that's what started all of this. It's actually a pretty decent game, which, big shock there, so I enjoyed it for that. It brought me back to a lot of concepts of like Slender and stuff like that, and it's a solid B-tier game. I actually enjoyed it more than Golf with Guns because I kept wanting to beat the game and go back and play it more and more to actually get more footage. So, like, it's pretty cool. Not saying anything wrong with Golf with Guns, but I think it's, it was our starting line, and it was a pretty good baseline for everything that we've played since. And it's kind of funny looking at this tier list now because I'm like, is Courage's Curse better than Muggy Lake? I don't know, but, like, hey, it's on the list now. So, the B tier at the very least. And I'm not just saying that because it's friend of friends. It's actually just, I enjoyed it. Like, if that developer made another game, I wouldn't know right now because I haven't talked to Common in a little bit, but I would play it. So that's cool. Then we have No Players Online. No Players Online. Oh, Muggy Lake, by the way, you're on a boat. You're trying to find like 3 collectibles to open up doors and then escape the lake with a monster chasing you. Pretty generic, but it's fun. It's fun. I shouldn't undersell it like that. It's a fun game. No Players Online. No Players Online is so this one is kind of interesting in the respect that it's a game where you play, you are like a first-person shooter. If I went on to like Halo or an older Call of Duty, like 10 years, 20 years on, and you're like, oh, this is a really cool game that I remember from my childhood, but no one's online anymore because, the servers are offline or whatever, and that's kind of the synopsis. So it plays off of that. And it's almost as if like another player logs on when you're online. And it's like, that's awesome, but also kind of weird because why would anyone else log on at this time? And it plays into that like creepiness factor and kind of plays with a little bit. I won't spoil anything else. In B tier is exactly it. It's one of those games that if it sounds interesting to you, you will probably enjoy it. But that's what it is. It's behind Muggy Lake, but it's in front of Golf with Guns. It's not quite a Fixin' to Die. Cage Face is just a better game. It might have punished me ever so, but if it interests you, play it. Then we have Nocturnal Visit. Nocturnal Visit was a pretty standard horror affair. I should say this one was essentially, the stereotypical, oh, there's a haunted house on the end of the street. Go investigate it, see what's going on. There's a couple spooky things that happen. Okay, awesome. Like, if you watch my video, you're not going to get anything more out of it, but so I wouldn't say play it for yourself. There are other better games here. Super cool. Like, the graphics weren't bad. There was nothing overly wrong with it. So I'm putting it down here. And actually, I'm thinking about this right now. Mr. Krabs getting the bump. They Are Here actually plays well. If they add more to it, it's going to be a sick game. Mr. Krabs, listen. This is Commits Arson, not Tax Evasion. Improve the quality of how it runs, and you would be set because that's a sick game. Like, that's a sick game in the making, and so is They Are Here. Cool? Cool. We've talked on this. Pet the Pups at the Party. All right. So, Pet the Pups at the Party it's a game. Yes, it's a game, but it's very much like a mobile game. So the gameplay is very shallow, if you will. Basically, you run around, you try to get to the pups, you want to click and you want to pet them. And listen, I am one who likes any games that involve dogs. In fact, I go out of my way to play them because I think that they're super awesome and there should be more of them. But Pet the Pups at the Party, like I said, very shallow. It's not on Doggo Quest territory. I would say it's even worse than Courage's Curse. Listen, I love the concept, but there needs to be more gameplay there. All the dogs have names, super cool. Maze of the Minotaur, it's above you. I also think that In the Mountains is also getting a bump here, but this is slightly worse than In the Mountains. Listen, I love the concept. The concept is awesome. I'm not mad that I played it. Expand on it. Expand on it is really what I can say. Cool. Good talk. Right. Rerun. Rerun, however, listen, if you've played Carlson and you're like, this is a fun game, I'm so excited, it's awesome. Dude, play Rerun. Rerun is Angerfoot, but better. Like, the movement plays really well. The sword elements are fantastic. It's what's meant to be. If Danny can polish Carlson, actually, there you go. Put it up in S tier. If Danny can polish Carlson to the level of which Rerun is fun to play. I've gone back, played it on my own. If you haven't played it, you should play it. So I know that is my standard for A tier, but balancing and whatnot. Anyways, there you go. Boom. Rerun, super awesome. Platformer, speedrunner's paradise. There's a sword, you can throw it. It's super satisfying when it lands. The movement's satisfying. Like, everything. The gameplay is satisfying. The visuals are not that great. But if you're just here for gameplay, that's a game to play. Santa's Gift, and Santa's the gift portion is cut off, but that is what it is. So Santa's Gift is actually I think at this point the most recent one I've put up that it's on this tiers list. Basically, it is a game where you are a kid in your house, and then you want to find out if Santa is real, so you go to investigate, and I won't spoil it more than that, but it's very cursed. It's very cursed, and that's the whole reason why I played it, because I enjoy anything that's cursed. I mean, listen, Mr. Krabs' Tax Evasion is number 2 on this list. You should know I enjoy cursed things. So, that's cool. However, it's probably a C tier, purely on the respect that it's cursed and awesome, but like once you see the jokes and get the gags, that's it. And I'm actually going to put it right here, right? Inversion Gb. So my thought process with this is, listen, okay, they're here, awesome. Mr. Krabs commits arson, fix the game, and it'll be awesome. Nocturnal Visit is just like a solid game, but nothing like remarkable. Inversion Gb, awesome story, all of that. Just too short. There's not a whole lot there. Santa, you watch my video, you get it, you're good, you're done with it. That's it. That's all. Then we have Shark Simulator. Shark Simulator is another one that's like so off the wall that if I try to explain it to you, you're going to think I'm crazy. So I'm going to try to explain it to you. Basically, it is a game where you are a shark that is on land that doesn't drown in air or doesn't suffocate in air. That's the one. And you start getting these outlandish power-ups that you basically are like, oh, I'm going to strap a jetpack to my shark. Oh, I'm going to put a giant mace. And by mace, I mean the spiky ball from medieval times. I think that's called a mace. Or a battle axe on the back of my shark, and then spin him to oblivion and annihilate people. It was super entertaining in short spurts. I wouldn't play a ton of it. Where's it stand? It's above a muggy lake, but it's it's like literally middle of the road B tier. The game after your third power up gets kind of grindy, and then it's like, all right, well, I want to see how insane this can get. But then, like, you gotta grind and then get more, and it kind of dies off. It dies off is really what it is. If it interests you, check it out. It won't be on your PC forever. That's where it is. Then we have Sponge Glock SquarePants. So this is, I think, the first cursed SpongeBob game that I decided to play, because all of these are, what it is. Also, ironically, 3 out of the 4 of these, he has a gun, which is as much of a problem as you might imagine. But anyways, so basically when you like shoot someone, they just go limp. It's a first-person shooter. I'm pretty sure you go rob a bank. Honestly, versus these other ones, it's not as remarkable, but it does play better than Mr. Krabs' Tax Evasion. Or not Tax Evasion, sorry. Commits Arson. Not as good as Tax Evasion. Where does it stand? Honestly, it stands like right about here. So, no players online. Is it more fun than that? Listen, this is a personal preference thing. If I'm going to play one of these, I'm going to play Tax Evasion. So, to me, it doesn't rank higher than No Players Online. I think to most other people, it would probably be around this mark. And actually, for that sake, I will leave it there. It has some special things, but like 3 AM at the Krusty Krabs has its own special. Like, it has its own play style, whereas this one's more muddy because it's similar to other things on this list. So, with that said, SpongeBob, or SpongeGlock SquarePants, I should say, is solid B tier. It's above Shark Simulator. Actually, you know what? There's more there than Fixin' to Die, so we'll pump it up there. But Cage Face is even though it kicked my butt, is a solid game. Like a solid game. Everything above this is a solid game. Like, honestly, here on, you can't go wrong. Moving on. Building 71. So this is a game that there's a lot of interesting tidbits. Like, there's not a whole lot going on in the game. This was also from our spooky season, all of our horror games. And basically what happens is there's a cult that you're going to investigate that's residing in this abandoned building, and there's a lot of story elements. It's a game that I would say try for yourself if it sounds interesting. So B tier is exactly where it needs to live. But, you know, it's a game. It's a game. It's better than No Players Online, definitely. It's better than Muggy Lake. The story is there. I liked it better than Shark Simulator. Is it better than Fixin' to Die? No, Fixin' to Die is just a fun game. Like, if they added more to Fixin' to Die, it's like A tier. There's more gameplay in this right now, but there's more potential in Fixin' to Die. Salvation Project. Salvation Project, you basically... Okay, this is cursed. This was another one. This is another one. See a theme here? Lots of cursed stuff. This one is a game that came from our spooky season as well, and it was not as good as Building 71. It's basically... Kermit is a demon, which is pretty much like real life, so it's a real-life simulator. With that said, where does it stand? Like, the game is playable, so it's above Commits Arson. But, like, I don't know. Slow burn. Not a whole lot going on. It's C tier. If you watch my video, you get the gist. That's all you really needed. Time is Solid here. Time is Solid here is another recent one, and we're getting down to the final shelf here. So let's think about this. So Time is Solid here, puzzle game. There's not a whole lot. Basically, what you're doing is you're going through, I guess, purgatory or something like that to help free souls and let them move on with their life. That's a concept, but the game is pretty interesting. It's a little bit more mature in some places than I'd like to go. Like, it's nothing sexual or anything like that, but just like a little brash with the text, I think, is my biggest gripe with it, but it is a solid game. I like it for its own reasons. Again, this gives me very Undertale vibes, but in a good way. I'd love to see more developed on it because it's very, like, the art style is very unique. It's very in your face with what it's trying to be. There's a lot of identity there, I think, is really what it comes down to. So I'm actually going to bump this to the top of B tier. I don't think it qualifies an A, but like it's not a you must play this game, but if it interests you, it's pretty good, and it is pretty good overall. So that is where that goes. Tomika, I hope I'm saying that correctly. This is a not as rememberable game. So it's another game. Listen, when dogs are involved, I'm willing to play the game. So just going to bump that guy up for a second there because I actually thought about that a little bit. Basically, Tomika is like a platformer, 2D platformer where you play as a dog, I guess, wandering through like cities and factories and stuff like that. It's a demo that there's not a whole lot to. I wanted to check it out. It looks very cool. Like, the art style is super cool, but like gameplay wise, it's like not remarkable. I'm actually gonna bump it like pretty low on this list. Yeah, the bottom of the list. It's not a bad game in any regard. The art style is absolutely fantastic, but like, there is better games. Like, if you're gonna play any of these games on the list, it's just not one that I'm like, all right, go play it. Okay, cool. Then we have Walk Home. Walk Home is actually pretty cool in the respect that, like, I wanted to play more of it. And in fact, I did. I, like, played multiple playthroughs to try to figure out how it worked because there's multiple endings. And there's, like, somewhat of a story there going on. It's, like I said, pretty neat. Is it as good as some of these other ones? No, but it's going before Building 71. I think it's better than Building 71 if you just want a story. The art style is not crazy. The story is not fantastic. I think to some people, they would appreciate more of the curious lore of Building 71, but I like Walk Home better. So these two are pretty tied in their grand scheme of things. We're just doing a rebalance. There you go. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, so Walk Home, you have a cell phone to kind of understand like what's going on. You can take pictures, you can mess around with it. Some of the apps kind of help you figure out what's actually going on in the town. You have to dig a little bit. You have to pay attention. If you just rush through the game, you're not going to understand why anyone cares about the game. So it's one that, you know, your mileage will vary based on how you play. But yeah, that is what that is. Then there's WOLO, or We Only Lived Once, I believe is what it stands for. We Only Lived Once. It is a Nuclear Throne-like, roguelike-ish game, top-down shooter. This is actually a sick game that, like, if it came to a full release, I would totally play it. But what's kind of sad is it's, like, it's not that impressionable. Like, it didn't make a huge impression on me in the respect of, like, overall. You go through, you clear the rooms. There aren't a whole lot of power-ups. There are a decent amount of guns, I suppose, that you can buy from the taco truck, I think it is, that at the in-between levels to upgrade. It would need a lot more layers to be a better game. It's not a bad game, but it needs more layers. So I think for that reason, it's going down to C tier. It's one that you should play if it sounds interesting to you. But, like, am I going out of my way to play it? Not particularly. All right. So, quick run through, and let's do some reshuffling here before I close it out. So we've got Courage, the video game. Mr. Krabs commits tax evasion. Rerun, Angerfoot, Deepest Sword, Funk Duck. Funk Duck is so good. I might go back and play it after this, honestly. Carlson, another solid choice. Time is solid here. 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab, Cage Face, Sponge Glock SquarePants, Fixin' to Die, Walk Home, Building 71, Shark Simulator, Muggy Lake. Yeah, I'm doing that to Muggy Lake. Hats off to you, dude. We Only Lived Once, no players online. Yep, that's also happening. Golf with Guns. Yeah, I can stay. They Are Here, The Salvation Project, Mr. Krabs Commits Arson, Nocturnal Visit, Inversion GB, Doggo Quest, Santa's Gift, Courage's Curse, In the Mountains, Pet the Pups of the Party. There's more game in Maze of the Minotaur. I'm sorry. Like, it's just, that is what it is. Also, like, I thought about it. You're getting that bump up. Not quite that far. You're getting that bump up. So, ironically, this is horrible. I really like dog games. I swear, guys, I really like dog games. We need more of them, but they're at the bottom of this tier list. At least these two are. So hopefully, guys, make better dog games so I can play them. But I do think, that is where that is. So let's focus more so up here. Courage. It's not for everybody. You have to have that interest. So for that reason, I think it's actually going to get, yeah, it'll get bumped around to like that. Because I feel like Rerun is a super fun game. It's like really for speedrunners, fast-paced energy. I know not everyone cares about Mr. Krabs, but Mr. Krabs has that zaniness. Like, I like weird games. If you look at what's on this list, I like weird games. And just for that reason, it's getting the bump up. Angerfoot definitely deserves to be in this place because I think it's the sleeper hit that you haven't played. Deepest Sword is just polished. Like, I like Funk Duck, but, like, it is a solid game, Deepest Sword. Like, you could, you know, add some extra levels and publish that for real. Like, legit money, I guess, or legit publishing. Like, that's just sick. Carlson's a work in progress. It'll score higher once it's complete. I don't know if it'll score higher than Rerun. I know I'm a little partial, but Rerun's pretty good. Time is solid here. Another one that I'd like to see more of. 3 a.m. at the Krusty Krab. Solid game. All I gotta say. And skimming down the list, I think that's really where these guys stand. So, anyways, guys, that is where our tier list is going to be locking in. We're locking in our tier list there. It's super cool to actually see. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What did I mess up on? What do you agree with? But that is our final tier list. Alrighty, guys. So when I was actually going through this, I actually realized I did miss one game. Actually, there's technically two, but I'm not including Super Auto Pets because Super Auto Pets is a series on my channel. You know it's S tier. You know it's S tier if you watch my channel. But Die in the Dungeon was one that we skipped right over, and there's a reason for that in part. So actually, we're just gonna put it right down here. Listen, Die in the Dungeon I had fun with it. It was a super cool game. There needs to be more to it to understand it, but I did want to include on the list because I don't want to skip out over any of these. So there's actually 33. I said earlier 32, but there's 33 individual games on the list, and that is exactly where it falls, and this is our final list. So this is future Editing Yeti saying you're welcome for fixing this list, and please don't yell at me in the comments if you have already. Okay, awesome. Roll the outro. As always, guys, this has been your host, The Lost Yeti, and I will catch you guys next week for another itch.io gem to start building towards next year's tier list. I'll see you guys then.